Hello?
Hi, did I wake you?
No, hi, how are you?
You're really coming?
Of course. Are you really getting married?
Yes, yes I am.
Unreal.
Wow,
Incredible.
you're really coming. God, it's been like 5 years.
Yes? Yeah, at least 5 years.
So, have you talked to Mom?
Nope.
You're gonna have to.
I know.
She's doing good. It'll be fine.
Don't stress.
All right. So, I didn't wake you up?
No, actually I just got off work. I'm beat. Haven't even packed. I'm trying to get a little work done on, this piece that I'm working on for the show.
Good. You're still doing shows?
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, selling a little here and there.
Good.
You know.
When am I gonna get a piece?
When you pay the price tag.
All right. Okay, so you're gonna be in Minneapolis in the morning?
Yeah.
And can I pick you up?
Actually, no, I'm gonna try to find a friend. And I'll just take a taxi after I'm done visiting, if I can find him.
A taxi? It's like an hour away. I mean, I'm happy.
Hang on, the L's coming.
What?
The train.
Oh. I don't hear it.
What?
I don't.
I remember when I was 14. It was early spring. I sat outside the taco hut with my rear nestled in a man-made snowbank as I watched crows fight over a discarded taco. I sat there for hours flicking still-lit cigarette butts at the two largest crows. The two that always chased the smaller crows away. I never came close. I sat there and watched as the two largest crows scavenged and carried their meals off to the neighboring rooftop. I was enough to drop their stash and demand more. I sat there and being relatively wise for my age, contemplated similarities between me and smaller, hungry crows. Maybe it was self-pity. Maybe for a bit. But I always seemed to find in my memories a reason to justify just a bit of self-pity. After time, one of the large crows grabbed the butt I'd flipped nearby. Then the most unbelievable turn of events occurred. The crow carried the butt off to the neighboring rooftop. I sat and watched as a pillar of smoke rose from the gutter where the crow had laid its stash. Next, flames began to lick the edge of the wooden shingles just above. I ran, and as I ran, I saw, in my mind, a raging inferno. I felt my life end. Fear and exhilaration drove me for what seemed like miles. I reached home and ran to my room and waited for the other shoe to fall. Someone would come for me, I was sure of it. I laid there and cursed the crows. How could I have let something as insignificant as a crow bring my life to the edge? At the same time, I marveled, in a sadistic way, at the tenacity of those crows. I almost giggled as I thought how incredible it must have felt to be that crow, to show all those humans who ignore, even discard their existence, just what damage can be done, just what effect a simple crow could have on their lives. I may know now, the runoff from the melting snow extinguished the butt long before it hit the rooftop, but in my mind, I saw fire. I don't see that fire anymore. Things have changed, just a bit. Looking back, it was a horrible, confusing time. I didn't know the fire I know now. The drive, the desire. I didn't know how I could have it. I didn't even know of it. I managed to find any possible situation to get myself into that would keep me from knowing how to feel life, what it meant to breathe freely, unencumbered by a suffocating lack of self-worth. I didn't know. I drifted from home to home. School was a laughable idea. I saw youth camps, juvenile halls. I almost made it all the way to the state pen had I not suffered a momentary flash of common sense. I drifted, and I dreamt. I dreamt of every conceivable revenge for those people, the people other than me, that sent me into the life I was living. And now I spend my time still learning from those years, still drifting, but with some direction, or at least a desire to find where I'm going and not regret where I've been. And the turning point, the flash from above that gave me the light to see, my inspiration. As luck would have it, a crow, too often discarded by society, too often forgotten, a crow. His name was George. By my 18th year, I ended up in a halfway house just outside of Minneapolis. It was that or find myself lost on the streets or locked away. Next door, in an old but well-kept house, nurses and a food van came once a day. And every morning and every evening, an older man sat on his back porch and watched the birds. One day he spotted me as I sat out back flicking butts into a bird bath. He came after me with a relentless barrage of questions and compliments. I was trapped. The only way out was to walk away with no response. Every other day he'd catch me again, and I'd walk away. I hated him. I hated him almost instantly. His smile, his infectious laugh, his stories, which most certainly couldn't have been true. They all pressured me. I wanted to stay and listen. I hated that feeling, and I hated him for making me feel that way. Months went by with the same routine. I'd be sitting out back and George would find his way over for an hour of one-sided conversation. I eventually gave in to the temptation to stay and at least listen. George had a funny way of saying things. That's not to say he spoke funny, but he was difficult to understand from time to time. He would always sound excited about every little detail. Every fact ended with an exuberant punctuation that often left me feeling as though I'd missed the point. He was just excited about everything. Foolishly, I thought at the time. But it wasn't just his way of saying things that kept me listening. It was knowledge. He knew things. Trivial at times or not, he knew things from experiences. He knew things from reading, from listening, and understanding. He had experienced so much. It was only a matter of time before I started to understand the significance of George. Here was a man that needed help with most day-to-day chores. He never held a job outside of assisted placement, never drove a car. So many things held him back. Or so many things tried. George would tell me stories of his group adventures with vivid details. He told me of books he'd read. He helped me relive great events in sports from long before I was born. He helped me see the wonders of places I've never seen and explore those places you can only imagine. Over the next year, I came to understand a little bit more about myself. I took a hard look at what I had done with my life. I revisited old childhood dreams to try and complete the puzzle of who I was, what I really wanted, what made me happy, what it was to let myself be happy. I found myself laughing at things George would say, no matter how unfunny they were, just to enjoy the feeling you get from laughter. I found myself feeling love. I found myself feeling loved. I left before George was better. The doctor said he would be fine. My uncle found me a union job and gave me a place to stay in Chicago. I had to take it. I left without saying goodbye. I couldn't. I vowed to stay in touch with George. I didn't. 5 years later, my brother was getting married just 100 miles from where George and I met. I knew he wouldn't be there, but I was so proud. I wanted to share. I wanted to tell him all the things I've seen and done with the same punctuated style that I'd perfected years ago. I wanted to say thanks